I think that the reason why there's so much loneliness with much of academic research is that the incentives are just not set up to encourage any sort of cooperation. It often is set up to encourage competition. And if you were to, and it's pretty simple, right? Like every individual is rewarded based on their performance, and there is no group incentives that are explicit. I think that's the fundamental difference between a company and then what people actually do in the academic game is that the incentives in a company is to cooperate to build something that is bigger than you. But in academia, in the academic research game, the incentives are they're such that it discourages people to cooperate quite dramatically. And the cooperation that exists is extraordinarily instrumental. It's kind of the idea that we will cooperate together because I'm going to get something out of it. And because, um, I get some sort of rewards from it. And, you know, barring that, yes, it is business, it's careers. It's the business of academia and it's the careers that we all deal with. But um, it seems to be really central to the identity of most people, this sort of what you get rewarded. And even when, so let's say that this hypothetical case and how it sort of works out, because there's all these sort of prizes and awards and things like that. Even when you're in a highly cooperative environment, um, where you would want to cooperate, there's these sort of winner take all prizes that exist. That there's only one person that gets it, and so it often discourages people to cooperate because they're not going to get the rewards in any sort of way. That the easiest way that we can change this is to start having rewards for cooperation and having, incentives for cooperation, right? Like incentives that are uniquely for about cooperation. And I don't see a lot that actually is explicit about that, right? And serious rewards with the stuff that we actually do. Now, I'm not speaking for all of the scientific effort. There is some really extraordinarily big labs that operate more like a company, but I'm assuming even in those big labs that they still have this sort of, cutthroat behavior based on competition that exists. Right, and how we get around that, so there's, two ways that you can get around this, sort of collectively as a whole, and sort of on a system level, you have to reward cooperation. But at the individual level, you have to disassociate from it. One of the things that was told to me and is really good advice is, do you wanna optimize on your local environment? Or do you want to optimize on the global environment? And your local environment, it's all going to be incentivized for individuals. But the global environment is more about cooperation in general and recognition, globally, right? And when I say global, it's more of it's kind of like a little bit of a software term, but basically it's thinking across the entire system. So you can do that, and the way that often have to do it is you have to dissociate from the local right? And detach from the local and realize, I'm not probably going to be rewarded or recognized in the local for the global, right? And these trade-offs exist all over the place. It's not like anything that's unique. Um, and it's more of a trade-off of the characteristics of knowledge or the division of labor. Um, but it still very much exists. And you, in the way that you do that, and you personally do that, right? Like it's easy to sort of say that, but the way that you do that is through dissociation, um, not worrying so much about any given moment and how you're being perceived in the local environment, rewarding yourself based on doing just good work, right? In general, trying to change your attitude so that you're repeatedly, the best of your ability. I know it's a challenge, best of your ability that you're happy. And any given moment, happy is kind of like I don't like that term, but basically like there's a level of satisfaction or a level of positive rewards that you get that are sufficient, that are larger than the negative rewards of actually putting in the work. And that's a long way to sort of say, because I struggle with the idea of happiness, because happiness is a very complicated thing. So, um, what I'm getting at though is if we're going to change these things, we need to really start, at the macro level, and even at within, various different institutions within societies. There's these academic societies or academies that they would say, like, kind of big branches of science, within those particular domains, and you start putting explicit rewards just for cooperation, um, with very little other things that are behind it, right? So it's the fact that you just cooperate, that with others and you cooperate well with others. I know it seems really strange, but it's like coming back to, some of these practices that you might do in, um, one of the ways that I would incentivize group projects is by and to some extent it works, some extent it doesn't work, but was to, you know, reward or to sort of rate members of group projects. It's not great, and I don't like it, but it did help, I think, universally when there's group projects of incentivizing good behavior of working together. Now, I don't see anything like that as a comparable idea. I see almost all of the rewards are very independent. They're all based on competition. They're based on sort of winner take all dynamics. They're also based on often, you know, rewards that you can't see or resources that you can't see. So there tends to be a lot of clustering that happens within a few institutions, um, in terms of those that are generating the rewards. And the way that you get around that is, I'm a bit like an economist this way, is you incentivize the behavior or you discourage behavior. Uh, you discourage the behavior that is about taking a winner take all perspective, and you encourage people to collaborate and participate by rewarding those behaviors, which doesn't exist. And so we're going to make any significant headway on this. We need to start thinking about different rewards for collective behavior, um, whenever that might be and however that might be said. I think we really need to take that seriously if we really want to change this. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.